faces. We didn't do this the last time, but there's some non-NFS members here, and I'd like to meet you guys. So can you just tell us your name and how you heard about this? Just for a second. We'll start with you, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. They call me the Green Queen, and I saw a post by the author of Awofeso on his social media. That's how I heard about this book.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Then Ireti.
Hi everyone, my name is Ireti Michale. I heard about NFS through a friend, Awofeso. She went on a trip, I believe last year to Kano. It was an NFS trip. I was like, oh, how did you go about going about this trip? It was really interesting how she talked about the society. So I decided to join, and then I saw this event, and I was like, oh, road trip around Nigeria, this is right up my street. So,
What's your friend's name?
big.
Yeah. Okay. Then,
Hello everyone, my name is Saturday. My name is Saturday Simeon. I've known about NFS from my days working with Quintessence.
okay.
And then
Yeah, we use quintessence a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, we collect money for us.
that did not come.
Hey, Renee. Welcome. Thank you.
We're just a bit intro, although perfect.
Abba, are you an NFS member?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. My name is Awofeso Abbas. I've been a member of NFS for the last 13 years, but I've been a very passive, overly passive member.
Yeah.
This year, one of my New Year resolutions was, you know what, we need to get back and be active. I haven't been in the country, but I came in last month,
Okay.
and I think you will see a lot more of me now. I had a very exciting experience with NFS in the past. Whale watching, going to the White House. This was in 2015, 2016. So this is my first outing with the NFS
Okay.
in the last, let's say 6 years.
Wow.
Welcome back.
We are welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And it's good that you stayed a member even though you were not coming.
I was getting all the newsletter.
And you're reading
You read them.
You're reading.
Yes, come to here. Doing that.
Okay, you have a chance to meet the rest of the NFS members after the discussion. So I'm Ibinabo, for those who don't know me. I'm organizing this activity. I'm going to just talk very briefly on NFS for those who don't know. But I assume most people here already know about the NFS. We travel, we appreciate culture, and culture is not just restricted to going to see those places. It's also books, art. We get to talk to a lot of people who are involved in this as well. I'm going to say art. Art is not just pictures, but it also includes dance, other forms of art as well, the different ways it's expressed. And we have with us today a travel writer, Pelu, Awofeso. And I'm not very good at doing very succinct introductions, so I always let the guests introduce themselves so they can decide what they want to say to you. But Pelu is a travel author, and he has traveled extensively around Nigeria. I've read one of his books, his latest book, 9 Degrees. Was it 9 Degrees North? Yeah, 9 Degrees North, which is a selection of short stories of his experiences in different parts of Nigeria. Very, very interesting. Yeah. So I've read that, and so I'll just let Pelu take the floor, and then we start the rest of the evening. Welcome.
Thank you, Binabo. Thank you, everybody. Good evening. And thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming. I appreciate that you could give us this time of your evening to listen to a talk about travel. It's always a thing of joy for me to talk about Nigeria, because that's basically what I've done all my work life. You know, and just talk about travel around the country and why people should appreciate the country more. You know, we hear so many. I mean, from when I started in journalism, And even before, most of the things you will hear about Nigeria, of course, after the glory years, is all of the 419 and the corruption and the coups and the everything. And I thought, this is definitely the only thing that I'm going to still introduce myself. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, let me just start. So you already read a little bit about me in the newsletter, if you read them. I'm a travel writer, I'm a travel journalist, but I also have a very strong interest in the arts. So I report culture, festivals are also a very strong thing that I cover. Exhibitions, I love indigenous architecture. So every time I travel in the country, you'll always see me being drawn to all of the vernacular architecture that still exists. Of course, colonial architecture, Afro-Brazilian architecture, there's everything around the arts about the heritage of Nigeria. So I've written 5 books. We are working on the 6th one, which is an anthology of travel writing by different people focused on Nigeria. We hope that will be out by October, because that's a way to mark the independence this year. I'm currently writing a series of travel articles for Lonely Planet on Nigeria. I did a series for Lagos last year, and then early this year I was commissioned to do another series for Nigeria. 11 stories in all, I've done about 6, so I have 5 more to go. So it's really a thing of honor to be asked by that branch to say, look, we know Nigeria doesn't really rate high on the global travel scene, but we think there's something here, and we think we can do so. I'm currently traveling from the planet, and that's essentially what this trip is about. I was thinking, what will I focus my talk on? I've been traveling for 22 years in this country. I have a lot of things that I've kept in my collection, but I thought for this society, I would just try to focus on my most recent trip, which is what you see here. I set out from Lagos around the middle of February, and I was on the road for 45 days. Came back at the end of March. So that's the story I want to share with you, and that's me in Okene. In the middle is me in Jos. On the extreme right is me at the Regasa station in Kaduna State. The period when I traveled between February and March, we all just, we know that there was a lot of cash crunch. There was a scarcity of funds and cash. All my travel, the entire time that I was on the road, I had to cope with the fact that there was not cash in circulation. At the early stages, I could still go into a period and get money.
Yeah.
But as the weeks went by, it became so tough that I was having a lot of issues, getting money. And I saw I remember this trip partly because of the trouble that I went through just to get money, to pay for accommodation, to pay for transport, to eat and do all sorts of things. So I thought I needed to show that. So it was 45 days on the road. I went to 12 states. I had 2 backpacks, and it was just me traveling solo. As you would expect, I wasn't going, I didn't pay for luxury accommodation. I was always looking for the cheapest room available everywhere I went. This is my room in Jos. Elsa, you just went to Jos. One thing that people don't know about Jos is that there are so many mission-owned guest houses in Jos, and they're the most affordable accommodation you can get. Of course, they are in levels. The cheapest one, you can pay either for a bed space or a room. Sometimes you have 1 bed in a room, or you have 2 beds. Sometimes you have a dormitory. But a bed space is about 1,500. If you want a room, it depends on which of the mission houses. You get a room for 5,000, or 3,500, or 10 or 15. It depends on which one. There are several of them. This is a cooking guest house. The next one is my room in Ado-Ekiti. It's not, it's a private hotel, but also an affordable room. This was 6,000 naira a night. I think this was about 4,000 a night. So that's the exterior of the hotel in Bauchi. And I added this particular thing just to say this was about the first time I'll be traveling that I would probably have a sense of maybe like a culture shock. Not culture shock in the sense of culture shock, but this is my hotel room. And in all the rooms, you will see this sign on the wall and on the roof. essentially is to tell the faithfuls, the Muslims, that this is the way to, it is how you are going to face, to pray.
Okay.
I didn't understand this. I knew this was what it meant, you know. You see it here, you also see it on the roof, you know. So, of course, it's a Muslim dominant society, and I mean, I understand why they would have this in the room. You know, I've never seen this in any hotel room, even in the north. This was the first one. And my first time in Bauchi, my host took me to this restaurant. It's called Borno. I mean, it's owned by a woman, but they only serve meals from Borno State. Yeah, that's the only thing they serve. This is made from millet, and this is from melon seed and stuff like that. I try to eat it because I'm like, look, I need to be able to show that I'm Nigerian. I eat everything that I come across.
It looks like a goosey.
Yeah.
It looks like a goosey, but it's not really, it's just it's a mix of so many things. But this is a standard meal you can take in that restaurant. And I don't have a picture of myself, you know, sitting down. So the restaurant is always open floor pattern. They don't have seats or chairs. You sit on the floor, but on the rug, it's rugged wall to wall. I don't have a picture of me doing that. And then you just sit down and you just eat. And then I was introduced to Bauchi tea. Bauchi tea is also the same tea that you take in Borno. Like I said, everything here is about Borno, but in Bauchi too, I was introduced to the culture of tea taking. So in Bauchi, they take tea. They have a tea house kind of culture, where the way we go to fast food joints here is the way they also go to tea houses in Bauchi. And they socialize over tea. Plain tea, no milk, nothing. And you see them, you know, gathering around tables and having this tea. So I mean, I was like, I don't take tea like this. But when you get to Bauchi, you will enjoy taking tea plain.
Sorry, is the weather cold?
The weather is so cold. That's the surprising thing. It's still as humid as you would expect. But it doesn't change anything for them. They take tea morning, afternoon, and night. Sorry? Hot tea, yes, hot. Steaming and boiling hot.
During Hamatan though, in the mornings it gets really cold. Temperatures drop.
Yeah, but so I think this is something they do year round.
Yeah.
I was actually, so it's another shock for me. I'm like, how do you guys just take tea? Like, I take tea in Lagos, of course, but this one was extra. And then in the evening after our first day of touring, it took me to one tea joint. And I saw people just taking it. And there are different types of tea. Dozens and dozens of them in the shop. They are local and they are also imported ones. So this is what they do. They mix a bit of the local tea things with the foreign one. They blend it together. And they have these giant pots, like a small drum, where the water is boiling. The tea, one is already pre-boiled, and then they'll serve it. There's a way it's done. It's beautiful. It's a culture that I really had never seen before. And I was so, immersed in it.
Is this something that is left over from colonial times?
I don't think so. There wasn't so much of colonial influence in northern Nigeria as such. Like what they did in the south. In the north, they still retain that. So I'm told that it's an Arabian Arabic influence. Yeah, it's from Arab. Yeah, that's the Arab culture. I remember asking my host, and he said,
Do you buy the glass of tea or do you buy the...
Sorry?
Do you just buy like one glass cup?
No, they said they have pots. So they have pots. When you make your order, they'll serve it to you in the pot, and then it will come with 2 cups. I mean, if you are one, just 1 cup.
Yeah.
If there are 2 or 3, they'll send it with three cups. Glass cups, cute glass. I actually wanted to buy. I couldn't find a place. I was so in love with the whole tea thing that I said but I bought some tea with me from Bauchi. I just couldn't get it. Sorry?
Is it very sweet?
What?
A lot of sugar.
Yeah, I mean, it's left to you. You can try to, I mean, they take a lot of sugar. They pour sugar in their tea a lot. But I said, just give me a little bit, but it was sweet enough for me. And they have all sorts of medicinal tea too, local and international. They have tea for everything. I was so, let me leave the tea. And then one of the highlights of my trip to Bauchi was coming to this place. This is Tafawa Balewa, our Prime Minister's son. That's his last son, and that's Tafawa Balewa's house, which he built before independence, before he even became Prime Minister. It's still standing, solid structure. I mean, the way he left it, all the fittings are still from the 1950s. And the son told me, so he and his older brother live in this house now. He stays upstairs. Okay, well, I think the 2 of them stay upstairs. That door leads to the sitting room. and nothing else, just the chairs, and this is the way the father left it. And they are, I mean, I'm wondering why is it not a national monument already?
Yeah, should be.
And I was talking to him, he said, well, we don't have nothing we can do. If they feel they want to make it a national monument, they will make it. But we live here, this is our father's house. And Aruna told me something, but he said, but you won't believe it. This house was built by a Yoruba man. I don't know why he said so, but I guess I think it had to do with the fact that Nigeria was political, we were trying to vote, and there was this inter-ethnic thing. But maybe it wasn't there to mention that Nigerians keep on talking as if sometime recently we were not living together. There was a Yoruba man built this for my father, and they were very close friends in the 1950s. And it's actually very fantastic architecture from that time. This was one of the highlights of my trip. This is Asaba. This is the Landa Brothers cenotaph. And if we know our history a little bit, you know we're taught in history about John Landa and his brother and Mongo Park, who came to explore in Nigeria. About the middle of in the 1840s, they were traveling. That's the River Niger, going across. River Niger meets River Benue in Lokoja, but it passes here. So I think they came 2 or 3 times to this part of the world, and on their last time traveling, I think they were trying to follow the footsteps of Mongo Park, who came before them, and then they were ambushed in this locality by the people, and they were killed. Well, they were shot, and then they escaped with wounds, and then they left. So I think that anchor was from their ship. And so the state government is trying to make this like a park, a public park where people can come. And just across behind the fence over there is the cemetery, European cemetery. And you see all the Europeans who came and died by the water, or who were working as missionaries or as colonial officers, and they were buried there. They couldn't be taken back to the UK.
These are mass graves?
Sorry? No, not mass graves. They all have their tombstones. You see, it was strictly European cemetery, and it's still there. Of course, some of the tombstones are already, crumbling because nobody's actually looking after them the way they are. But so this is actually a current construction going on. They're trying to, make this more visitor friendly. And for a long time, so this is Ushafa village, Pottery village. Ushafa is just about 15 minutes outside of Abuja. Now I heard about Ushafa in the early 2000s when Bill Clinton came to Nigeria. Obasanjo was the president there. And one of the places that they took him was this village. And since that time, and that's about 20 years ago, I had Ushafa in my head. I'm like, this thing should be more. These are people who have been doing pottery for centuries. And I can imagine why the Obasanjo government at the time thought that one of the things they needed to show Clinton was this place. The women, and it's a women-only profession. Even though men are already joining, the women do pottery the traditional way. Everything is handmade. They build the pots, they fire the pots by themselves. That's what some of the things they use to fire is at the back. So they have firewood, pile them together, put the pots inside the firewood, and put the straw, and they fire it for like hours. And after a while, everything dies out and then they saw it. So they have all of these pots in those huts over there. I just couldn't show too many. In Jos, Jos is fascinating, and this is where my career started. I went to serve in this place, in this city, and while I was on the camp for 2 weeks or so, we're always waking up to this scenic beauty around us. Jos is surrounded by rocks all over. And I was like, wow, if I didn't come to serve in this place, I would never have known that we had a city that beautiful. And I thought the only thing I could do, one of the ways I could share that story was to start writing about it. And that was how I had an interest in trying to write about places. And so throughout my service here, I was going all over the place. And after my service, I came to work in Lagos for a while, then I returned to stay another year and 3 or 4 months, during which I actually wrote a pocket guidebook to the city. It's now out of print. I'm hoping that I can update it. So on this trip, I got to realize that there are now several hiking groups in Jos. There are actually about maybe, from what they told me, more than 10 hiking groups in Jos now. And all of them host occasional hiking trips. There are several hiking opportunities in Jos. You know, the same trend is happening in Abuja. If you go to Abuja anytime, there are so many hiking clubs and hiking groups. So going to Jos, I felt okay, one of the things I must do is to go on a hiking trip. And so I met these wayfarers of Jos guys. That's the founder over there. When he was a little boy, his parents used to bring him to Cherry Hills, and he used to hike, you know, all over. And then
So
I
the
think
guy with the hat?
the one with the hats, yes,
Okay.
on the side. You know, I actually met a couple of them who were inspired by their parents, you know, hiking trips, and they became members of this. And I met this guy in the middle is Egyptian. I think he's a third generation Egyptian living in Jos. His grandparents came in the 1930s or so to Nigeria. So many things happened. Eventually they found themselves in Jos. He told me a lot of stories, I've forgotten now. But this guy knows so much about Nigeria than the average Nigerian, because he's been here all his life. He was born here. His father lived here and died and then everything. So I was very interested in meeting him and talking to him. And I know that when I go back to Jos, I'll still find him. His name is Mohammed. And one of the things he told me was that if you know who knows Jos very well, just a bit. So there's a place called Ahmadu Bello. Okay, you know just Ahmadu Bello Way. If you go to Ahmadu Bello Way now, it's a very crowded, it's close to terminus, it's a very crowded, unsightly place. But they said back in the 1980s or in the 1990s, it was a boulevard of sorts. There were trees down that street. Now you can never even have a sign that there was a tree on that street. Everything is gone. You know, and just continue. So I mean, that's just, he told me that. I'm like, okay, well, there are so many things. He said there are so many things about Jos that have disappeared that many people don't even know. You know, so like I was saying that in Abuja, there are so many hiking groups. I also was lucky to, I actually went to Abuja twice. On my first visit, I couldn't do the hiking. And then I went elsewhere and I came back again because I needed to hike. I wanted to be on record that I did because I've been wanting to hike Abuja for a long time. And this trip gave me an opportunity, you know, to join. These guys are called Mantrek, Mantrek, Mantrek Hiking Group or Club or something. It was formed maybe about maybe 5-6 years ago. There are groups that have been founded about 20 years ago. So Abuja is an interesting hiking destination if you enjoy hiking. You'll find them, they're all on social media. So this is Life Camp around Abuja. And I was in Kubwa, just taking a walk one early morning, when I saw this signboard, IITA. IITA is headquartered in Ibadan. That's the only IITA that I know. But I was so shocked to see that there's an IITA presence in Abuja. I'm like, what are they doing here? There's no forest, so what are they looking for? You know. And I was curious enough to find out. It's early morning. I don't have any strict schedule. I had about 3-4 hours to stay around here, so I just started following the sign. And it was almost like an hiking trip on its own. I walked for like 45 minutes just to be able to get to this place. And I went in. Luckily for me, and I met the man in charge, who has actually been working at IITA for say 20 years. He's been based in Abuja for 18 years, and I think IITA has been there for 30 in Abuja. So he told me what they do up north. They are into crop research. They study corn, cashew. They study crops that can grow in the north, and then they recommend it to the farmers. It's a lot of work that they do, you know, in this place. Yes, as I was rounding off my trip, when I left Abuja, my plan was, my trip was basically overland. There was no flying, nothing. I started from Lagos. I'll still show you the picture towards the end. I started from Lagos on the train to Ibadan. Because my plan was to take all the functional trains working in Nigeria right now, the new ones, not the old ones. The Lagos, Ibadan, the Abuja, Kaduna, and then the Warri, Itakwe. Warri is Delta State, Itakwe is Kogi State. So one of my missions was to take all of those trains. So I did Lagos to Ibadan. While I was in Abuja, I did Abuja and Kaduna. And then when I was leaving Abuja, I said, well, I'm left with Itakwe and Warri line. So 2 days before I would take off, I had to send them a message that, look, I know there was an incident on that service recently. I wanted to find out whether they had restored the service right, and but there was no response. I said, okay, well, nobody's responding. I will still go to Lokoja anyway. So where the train station is, it's not so far from Okene. So I took the bus from Abuja all the way to Okene, and then I was asking the locals, okay, is the train working and whatever. They said the train is not working. So I couldn't do the train journey the way I wanted to do it. And I said, okay, so right there and then I needed to decide, will I sleep in Okene or go back to Lokoja and do something else, or do I just keep pushing forward? And I said, you know what, okay, I don't think I should stay in Lokoja. I've been to Lokoja previously before. I don't really have anything to do there. And I said, okay, why don't you go to Ekiti? So let me start going back to Lagos. So let me stop over at Ekiti. And then I called up this guy. He runs an outfit called Hike Ekiti. So he encourages people to travel to Ekiti and then go hiking. And I said, okay, come. Well, I'm coming to your end. Are you available? He said, yes. I said, okay, I'll arrive. And then, so we went hiking. We hiked 2 hills. One is Esa Hill. And then there is Abanijon Hill. Now, these hills are very remarkable in that they have rock shelters and caves under them. And they are not easy to hike, actually. We spent on the two hills, I think we did about 3 hours or 4. It's not a hiking for the faint-hearted. If you're not strong enough, don't try it. Don't go to Esa. Don't go to Abanijon. You can do this one. This one is level ground. So after that, the next day, we came to Ikogosi. Ikogosi is now under a new management, and they are doing a lot of work to actually revitalize the place. It's a very pretty place to go now. But before we did this one, Arita Falls is just 20 minutes or 30 minutes, away from here. So we went to Arita. Empty, there's nobody there. As a matter of fact, the road from Ikogosi to Arita is lonely. You won't see any other vehicle on that road. Maybe you will see 1 or 2 people coming from the farm carrying firewood, but you will not see a vehicle going up and down. So it was just us and the boat guy that took us on that road. So we went and then we came back. But coming here was a beautiful experience. I now finally got to the almighty warm and cold spring, in this resort. This is
So you hiked it.
Sorry?
So you hiked Esa.
I did. That's something I did, and I was sweating. I was just like
Is this part of the national park?
No, there's no parking. There's no national.
No, but the state governor there is designated.
But there's no national park that I know of.
Okay, he's trying to get the status.
Maybe they're trying to do something. Maybe it's what is progress.
If you're saying this is really difficult, this hiking was going to be part of what Ollie had recommended, and it's very difficult.
Not that it's very, but I mean, if you want to go hiking, then you have to prepare for.
Yeah.
Of course, there are easy hikes, there are moderate hikes, there are tough ones. I think I'll categorize this one as moderate tough.
Oh, really?
But again, you don't need to do the entire thing. You can actually do it to some point, and then. But I don't think there's any joy in hiking, and you don't get to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
You should. Maybe your aim should be to get to the to the peak of it.
Okay. No, I wasn't thinking that ambitious. It's more just to get out and see.
But this is such a beautiful place. Just getting there alone and just admiring the work of nature. It's all. I mean, you'll be fulfilled. But if you really want to, exert yourself and enjoy that you came all the way, then just take the hike. And this man is a farmer. He's about 70 years old. He used to be a civil servant, but he now, of course, is retired, and to keep himself busy, he goes to the farm. So the guy, what's his name now? I think it's Michael. I can't remember, but he called him. So anytime he wants to take people to the hike, to the hill, he will call Baba. Baba is like his man on the ground. Baba knows everywhere. He knows the path to the top. So he called him, and the man was waiting for us, and we met him, and he took us from the foot of the hill through farmland, some people farming, then through, and the place has a history. It also has its own mythical history. They have a story around the hill. There's a mother hill, there's a baby hill, and there is. So
how long does it take to get up to the top from the foot?
So let me just say it took us maybe an hour, 15 minutes from the foot of the hill to go up. And then when you get to their levels, you get to, so this is there's like a twin, there are twin peaks basically. You get to one, you can rest. That first level is actually big enough for camping. It's good for picnicking. You can actually picnic there. You can actually rest there while you are looking at the other peak. That is the mother rock. Okay. So, but before we began, after we passed through the farmland and got to a point, said, look, normally before you go on this hike, we have to pray to the gods. Libation. And there's like a natural opening, almost like a door. It looks like a door. It's just two rocks almost meeting each other. But in their own traditional whatever, they say, look, this is like the entrance. Before you can pass, we need to we need to pay obeisance. We need to just respect the owner. But unfortunately, if you had told us about Bochina, I would have loved to see him do the thing and pray. But in the absence of that, he still did some sort of praying and then we walked in. He said if he didn't do that, we could not, we couldn't pass through.
Which tribe are they? Is it
Yoruba.
Yoruba? Yeah,
Yoruba.
but they're
Yeah, basically Yoruba people. So this is actually in a place called In Ekiti. It's not far from the capital, Ado Ekiti, but it's In Ekiti. It's just so gorgeous actually. It's
He
really
said
gorgeous.
he's in his 70s, but he still walked up all the way to.
Oh yeah, but again, he didn't just walk. He didn't just walk. He walked without any footwear. They don't wear shoes. He said he doesn't need it. So even with our own hiking boots, we're still trying to struggle. This man was just he was agile. He was just I can't describe this man.
So was it like a regular rock, right?
Sorry?
So it's just like a regular rock and clean.
It's a regular
You don't
rock.
have to hold on to anything.
We didn't have to, no.
Okay.
But of course, it's steep in some areas and gentle in some areas, so you just have to find a way to. And there were some very risky points here where I was like afraid because so you pass there are some streams that pass through some of these places.
Okay.
And then at some point we needed to climb this steep, incline so that we can get to the higher level. And that was when there was a bit of a trouble to climb because again, I think it was a bit wet. And we found it difficult to actually climb, but we still navigated it. But coming back was when there was trouble because I almost fell off the cliff. But I wouldn't have fallen too far. I would have fallen right down, but I didn't want to even risk it. So we did. And he said, look, and he taught us a bit of a trick on how to actually climb and descend a rock.
Yeah.
How you have to, smart yourself. And it's something he does every day. And he was trying to push us to keep going because he was enjoying the whole thing. And I felt, I don't want to disappoint this man. I need to do it. But meanwhile, me and Michael had done a Bali journey. First, we did a Bali journey. So I'd already done a long hike before we met Baba. So that was my second hike of the day. So meaning that maybe I did about 4 hours of hiking in the space of maybe 4-5 hours. I didn't mind. I was out to get a story. I'm out to write. So I need to experience everything before I can even. So this is one of the things I did in Abuja. I went to. And again, this actually opened up a new phase of what I was trying to do. I began to get interested in farms, on my travel adventures. And that was because in 2016, I went to UNAB, University, Afebabalola University, also in Ado Ekiti. The university has a very big farm, and so we were in the farm or on the farm for a weekend. And I saw the amazing thing that was being done on that campus. How they were planting all sorts of things, and they were even exporting. They were doing some crops for export. So I did a story on that experience, and people were actually sharing the story a lot. So I think I began to get interested in farms. So when I got to Abuja, I met a man, Mr. Imal Silva, who actually is responsible. He runs this space with some investor. And these cows, Frisian cows from the Netherlands, were brought in from Kano. So they have so many of them in Kano. This man from Kano has a farm. So many. And then he brought some here just to test whether they can survive in Abuja. I think there are about 2 or 3 of them. And they said they are getting a lot of yield milk from this place, which they sell on the same premises. And so,
30 liters per day.
sorry?
30 liters
But this one, you know about the farm, right? It's
day.
so it's a very, so compared with the local breed, these are better, of course.
They look like the same. So I just said that they look like the same cows that were in Obudu.
I think so. Yeah, maybe. I think yeah, maybe yeah. So I think they do well in certain conditions.
Yeah.
Donald, you brought some.
He brought some of them too. Yeah, I'm sure they brought
What I
them.
wanted to ask was, I know the brother brought some of them from, I think, Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
They had, there were issues with the former president. They brought them to Kwara State.
Mhm.
Oh, those ones.
Yes.
Okay, but I don't know what happened. I don't know what.
Yes,
I don't know what happened to
Saraki
Saraki's time.
Saraki did that.
So we're not the freshers.
What
No,
type?
no, those were not freshers. I think they were just.
Regular.
No,
They
the
just-
ones that you have in South Africa, the ones you have in Zimbabwe, they're quite different. They're used as well, but in milk, I mean, a Frisian cow can give you up to 50 liters per day.
They really produce a lot. The man was talking to them like, wow. And of course, that was my first time seeing them. For when we were growing up, there was this coast milk that you see.
Fresh and cows.
Fresh and
Yeah.
cows.
Almost every milk has a fresh
Eh?
cows.
But coast is the only one I remember when I see this. So when I saw them, I was like, what? It's good to actually see this kind of cows. So I think so. This section is actually about me. So I made sure that I went to as many farms as I could. I went to the strawberry farm in Vom.
And just
Yeah.
This is just right.
This is Vom.
What was
Well,
this?
yeah, Plateau State.
The lady, what's it called? The grocery lady. The one that does the strawberries on its own.
Well, so there are actually a couple of, again, Jos is, a lot of things are happening in Jos.
Yeah.
Hiking groups are springing up. They are now, I mean,
I think we've always been there. It's just
no, it's always been,
posts.
Yeah, logistics
Yeah.
have been
Now it's coming back.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, okay, so, what I was trying to say is, things are happening in Jos, but because we keep on thinking there's inter-ethnic clash and whatever, we are not even seeing that a lot. I was surprised to see the number of new hotels in that city.
Yeah.
number one.
New
Hotels
hotels.
and resorts. Like, there is a patronage for this thing. People are using it, because if not, they won't be building.
Yeah.
People in Vom is like, it's like on the outskirts. There's a fantastic resort that has been built in there. I think there's a market, so and there are also public joints where people can go and relax and all of that. That is happening in Jos. But we are all in the cities believing that people are dying.
Why did you put the time there?
Oh, so
Was
the
it
time
significant?
it came with the template. I should have removed it.
Okay.
Yes.
Was this still in February?
Sorry?
Was this still in February?
This was in early March, I think.
Okay.
Late February. No, well, late February. That's about the last week of February.
Yeah.
So they still had strawberries until just about 2 weeks ago.
So strawberries is seasonal.
It's a
Yes.
dry, it's a dry season.
It's a dry season.
Once it starts to rain,
Okay.
so because it's perishable. I mean, so I was on the farm. I'll probably show you. I was on the farm to see how they were harvesting. The thing is, as soon as they harvest, they need to send it out
Yeah.
and start selling.
Yeah.
So if you go to Jos now, when it is in season, you see so many women hawking it. You know, this thing that they sell food for us, like they sell takeaway pack.
Yeah.
They stack a couple of them in there and start selling for 500 naira. But they need to quickly sell it up before.
So why do we buy for 2,000?
Yeah, but because you are far from you are far from the source.
How much do you expect it to be?
Exactly. So the thing is, so this is one of the farmer entrepreneurs who, she doesn't own the farm. She partners with a farmer
Okay.
who does the planting. She gives him the money, they plant, and then harvest time, she gets orders from different parts of the country. And then once the order, I had to come with her very early in the morning. I left my room around 6 o'clock so that I could get there for 7. It was an early morning thing. They quickly harvest. But she's taking this to the airport. You know, some of them she dispatches through the airport. I actually ordered a carton from her, which might be, I don't think it was among this ones, but so, and they'll send it to somebody at the airport will dispatch. And once it lands in Lagos or whatever, they'll call the customer. Your strawberries are in the airport, please come and pick it up quickly and everything like that. So,
And how much do you then pay for like a?
so this is a 5 kilogram carton. That's the standard. All of them use this carton as a Maggi carton. I don't know why they chose but because they can measure it's 5 kilogram. And this 5 kilogram is about 10,000 naira.
How much?
10,000.
It's expensive now. 2 years ago, I
With
did the same
the
thing. Someone harvested from it that morning in just when I got to that day. It was
How
like
much?
6,000.
But with the freight, with the dispatch and everything.
Yeah,
Everything is 6,000.
6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I think it depends on who you are dealing with.
Yeah,
Which
but the freight has
customer.
gone up as well
It's gone
because
up,
I
yeah.
used to order quite a lot, and I was about to place an order today, and the freight cost alone for just a few vegetables is going to be around 6,000. So charging like 600 naira per kilo, just for the freight, the air freight, and then I think maybe another 2,000 or something to live within Lagos. Or you can send your driver to the airport and pick up, but it has become really cost prohibitive. But the good thing is now in a Ballanday, if you ever go to a Ballanday and get vegetables there, I've really started to see a lot more products from Joss there over the last few months, like broccoli, cauliflower, even strawberries that you never used to see it.
Yeah.
But now in a Ballanday all the time.
Yeah. That city is just something else. I mean, all the fruits, all the vegetables you love to take, they're all there.
And strawberry was amazing.
Very good.
It was amazing. I think it was.
You know, and she was complaining about if only they had a way to preserve them, to make them last
It's
longer.
very short.
Very short shelf life.
Yeah.
So you can actually see, so on the farm, not everything can even be taken, but as they are investing, they are throwing some of them away. You are seeing them fresh on the floor. Maybe the insect attack or something. So they make some losses. They just try to make the best of the situation. I went to the strawberry farm twice, and every time that I came, every time I returned on those 2 occasions, I stopped over at this place. It's just beside the Polytechnic, the Plateau State Polytechnic, on Yakubu Go one way. I was interested in this place because it's owned by a family. It's a family-owned business just beside the Polytechnic, and I just thought, well, I should contribute part of my money to helping them make some profit. So this is the vegetables market in Jos every Tuesday. So every Tuesday, farmers bring all their vegetables and fruits and everything here, and people come to buy. It's actually at a place called Building Materials. It's not Jos itself, but it's just outside of Jos, as if you are going towards just after the airport junction, further down. Zaramaganda. You may not know Jos very much, it's. So here, also in Jos, this is one of the things that excites me, that also makes me sad at the same time. This is the Museum of Traditional Nigerian Architecture. It's a complex inside the Jos National Museum. The Jos National Museum has a very big compound, and they have a lot of things going on. And that's the second museum in Nigeria. I was talking to you about ACM Museum. The Jos National Museum was built in 1952 or something as the second museum. And inside that vast expanse of land is another like a museum for traditional Nigerian architecture.
In the 80s.
Sorry? Yeah, in the 80s, yes. Started in the 80s, Nigeria. And of course, many years ago, this thing was a good idea. They had some. So the idea is to have traditional buildings that represent different parts of Nigeria in this place. And the number of structures marked for that place is about maybe 52. So there is residential, there's spiritual, there is religious architecture, there is all of that. So you'll find the Katsina Mosque, there's the Kano Wall, there is the mosque in Ilorin, there is the Kano, the Emir's Palace. So there are different representations of authentic Nigerian architecture here. I think they must have, from my estimate many years ago, I think they must have had about maybe 10 or 15 built. Those ones have now succumbed to the weather because nobody is paying attention. Yeah, so if you go there, then you'll see them all crumbled. Not completely, but you'll see parts of those buildings.
Almost right. I mean, it's very sad now.
It is. It's so painful. I walk by. I go there all the time. Every time I just have to go. But the good thing is that the new DG of the museums, National Commission for Museums and Monuments, I don't know, but it's doing something new. I think from about maybe 4 years ago or something, it came up with a new idea of how to run that place. So initially it was part of the entire Jos National Museum. Now it's almost like a semi-independent museum on its own. So you can go to the Jos National Museum, while in the same place you can actually take a visit to the Motna, and also take a tour around it. So the new thing that is going on there is that they are now putting money in it. They are building new structures, but they are doing it by collaborating with the different ethnic groups. So, for example, they go to the Birom. Birom is a group in Plateau State. Look, we have a space here for the traditional building from your area. Can you people come together, donate money, put money together, and come and direct it? So you have new structures in there now, and most of them are actually representative of Plateau because they are it's their state. So when they see Biron have built their own, the Tarok people will say, we too want to build our own. So the Tarok people, they also build. Then the Ancient people are Ngas people say. So you'll find more architecture from Plateau State there now. And then there's also the Tiv architecture, and there's the Idoma architecture, and Shandam. Shandam is also Plateau State. So what they're also doing is that they're not just allowing those buildings to be there, they are now subtly converting them into restaurants. So if you go to the Tiv building, for example, they are selling food there. They will sell you food from Tiv. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. So they are breathing new life into that place now. So, and I hope that they can return to the old structures and rebuild them so that they can. This is going to be, the museum, the Just Museum alone, the Just Museum can actually generate a lot of revenue from just this small Motna. Well, not small, Motna. All their revenue can come from this place if only they manage it very well, and it can become one of the top destinations or attractions in Nigeria if we know what we are doing. Because I'm traveling as a travel writer, as I'm documenting, I'm doing all sorts of interviews, and that's me interviewing. So while I was there, some people told me that there's this group of guys who use bicycles to do stunts, those tricks that they do with bicycles. It's a young group. I just went to track them down. They go there every Sunday. So on a Sunday morning, I took off from my room, came to see them here, and they were doing their thing. So this is not the leader of the group, but the leader has got to serve or something. So this is like the guy representing. So I took him about what they do, because my idea is to write a range of articles on my trips, not just because I'm traveling to write a story for Lonely Planet. I was also collecting extra material for me to also write some other stories, later on. This is the main building at the Jos National Museum. It's a very cute place. I love having a look at it. I love sitting next to it, near it, and just enjoy the fact that you can still see this kind of architecture, and it's just a very refreshing environment all around. If you get into that.
Sorry, just wondering, is there a hill behind?
There's a hill, yeah. So from that hill, so that hill is actually, so if you go that way, so this if you go that way now, you will see the architecture for the Afizeres. The Afizere community, they've also built their own there. So you go through that entrance, and beside it there's 100 steps, that'll take you to the top of the hill there. And from there you can actually see just as if you are on Olumoro. I don't know if you've been to Olumoro. Being on that place, it's also just like staying on the top of Olumoro. All of these experiences I've been to just countless times. It's my favorite city in Nigeria. So when I travel, in the past when I traveled, I would always look for bean cake, akara. I try to look for the things that unite us, some of the things that we all do that you can find in different parts of the country. I think akara is one of them. It's on that side. But in recent times, I've become a puff-puff explorer. So I look for puff-puff. If I go to your city and I don't find puff-puff, it's not a city. So.
And they all taste the same?
Not the same. It tastes differently. They are all different. But so I was surprised actually that this woman does puff-puff and she does akara, she does sweet potato. But I was interested in the puff-puff only, so I took the puff-puff. But I had to take a picture of what I saw.
Yeah.
And this is in Abuja when I was heading to the life camp hike. This is me in Kaduna. I got to Kaduna when I got down from the Regasa station. I was trying to ask for directions. How do I get a bus or a cab to get somewhere? And then this guy came to meet me and said, "Okay, where did they go? I'm like, I didn't have anywhere in mind actually. The only thing I wanted to do, and that's very funny, when the whole currency thing happened, you remember that at some point the governor of Kaduna State made a broadcast that forget that one, you can spend the old money here. So I had some old notes on me. And I'm like, okay, I'm in Abuja. I still want to take the train anyway. It's in my plan to take the Abuja Kaduna train. So I said, I'm going to take the train. Let me go and test out the governor's, idea, whether they can still spend it. So that was one of the things that made me eventually go. So I got there. This man said he can take me around the city, you know, and he had me on a fee, and I said, "Okay, just take me around." And so while we were driving, and I asked him, "Okay, your governor said we can spend the old naira notes." Yes. Before I even finished, forget about it.
Yeah.
Don't mind him. Nobody listens to him anymore. He's a joker, you know. And I'm like, "Oh, really?" He said, no. The only place you can actually spend the money, and he told me, he said, if you go to the market where they sell grains and whatever, you can actually spend it. He told me something that you need to do to be able to spend the old notes. And then maybe if you want to buy something for 1,000 naira, maybe you have to pay a little extra to pay with the old notes, but you can spend it in the market. But generally, nobody's accepting it. You know, so I got to prove the governor wrong. What he was just making empty, you know. And then this guy, I was hoping to put the picture there. As we were driving around town, I told him, I just had a brain move. I said, "You know what, I want to go into a bookshop. You know, can you take me to a bookshop?" He said, "Yes, why not?" And they took me to this bookshop, and it turned out to be the oldest bookshop in the city. You know, owned by a Yoruba person. You know, he told me the year, I can't remember. I think it was built. It's been there since the 1950s. I think from a calculation it was about 60 years or something. You know, I don't have the picture there, but I saw it. I actually did a short video of me. It's called Yemi Bookshop. And when I shared it on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook and Instagram, a lot of people who live in Kaduna really felt, this thing has been there from when I was young. I remember this bookshop and whatever. So truly, it's been there for a long time. And of course, that also made me realize that, look, many years ago, Nigerians actually spread and lived all over the country. Now, people are afraid to live elsewhere. Also, at the market in Jos, I saw a woman who said she came with her husband in 1973. The husband was working for a construction company in the 70s, and work brought him to Jos. And after the job ended, they chose to stay back, and they're still there now. You know, 50 years ago. You see, 50 years.
Where are they from?
They are Yoruba people. They are from Ondo. And she told me something shocking. He said some of the people that came from their part of the country, they went back to their states. And when they got back to their states, that was during the first crisis in Jos, in that 2011. So I think there was a wave of people that ran away from Jos. So when they got back to their state in the southwest, they gave them a name. They were called, the woman was telling me that they were called Ogunlemide, meaning that it is war that chased us back. It was almost like a negative whatever. And as soon as she heard, I said, look, I'm never going to be like that. I'm not going to go back. But again, I love Jos, my family, I gave birth to our children here. I speak Hausa, my children speak Hausa. What am I doing? They don't even know Ondo State anymore. So she's been there for 50 years and she said she will continue to live there. I'm almost at the end of it. This is my first day on the road on the Lagos-Ibadan train on the 14th of February. Yes, I think 13th or 14th of February. And this is me at the end of my adventure on the 30th of March, I think, or thereabouts. This is Ikogosi. After hiking, you get to this place where it's like a bar. You know, they brought out this Ayo game. I don't know how to play Ayo, but I was just fiddling with it, just relaxing myself. And then they served me a drink later. And thank you very much. That's me in Abuja. Again, you wonder, I was traveling, I was doing all sorts of things, but I was always looking for spaces to walk. You know, I found this space on the farm in Abuja where I went to see the Frisian cows. So it's actually not just a farm, it's a demonstration farm with a restaurant and a workspace kind of thing and an event center. So this is where they can have some of their events. I just kind of converted it to a workspace on one of those days. Thank you very much.
Wow.
So, you know what, I'm done?
Do you have questions?
Questions?